This house was my sanctuary, a quiet place by the lake, far from noise, far from chaos. My late wife and I built it together, slowly, carefully, every permit approved, every inspection passed. This wasn't just a house. It was a promise I made to my family that we would always be safe here. For years, everything was peaceful. Then Carolyn became the HOA president. She smiled a lot at first. She shook hands. She talked about community standards and protecting property values. But behind those smiles was something colder, something hungry. Not long after she took office, the letters started arriving. The first one said my house posed a structural risk. I laughed. The house hadn't shifted an inch in decades. Still, I didn't argue. I hired an independent structural engineer, the best I could find. He walked through the house, crawled under it, checked every beam. He looked at me and said, "Your home is perfectly safe, better than most new builds." I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Another letter came. Inspection rejected. Structural risk confirmed. I read it 3 times, thinking I misunderstood. She rejected a licensed engineer's report and replaced it with her own internal findings. That's when I realized this wasn't about safety. This was about power. Carolyn started sending violations weekly. Minor things. Made-up things. Every time I complied, she moved the goalpost. I tried talking to neighbors. Most of them avoided eye contact. Later, one of them quietly warned me that Carolyn had threatened fines and retaliation if anyone supported me. My daughter started asking questions. "Daddy, are we going to lose our house?" I told her no. I believed it. The pressure increased. Trash pickup stopped at my house. Shared water access was suddenly under review. Emails went unanswered. When I went to the HOA office, Carolyn barely looked up from her desk. She smiled and said, "Rules are rules. You should have followed them." That's when it hit me. She didn't want compliance. She wanted surrender. I hired a lawyer. He reviewed everything and immediately filed legal paperwork blocking any HOA action until the dispute was resolved. He told me not to worry. Go on your work trip. They can't touch your house now. I trusted the law. That was my mistake. When I came back, my street looked wrong. There was a red notice on my door. Condemned. My furniture was on the lawn. The locks had been changed. HOA workers were filming everything like it was a victory parade. Carolyn stood there with her clipboard, calm, confident, untouchable. I shouted. I protested. I showed the legal paperwork. She didn't care. She said, "The house is unsafe. We're protecting the community." I stood there, powerless, watching strangers touch my life, my memories, my family's belongings. It felt unreal. And then that night, while sitting in a cheap hotel, something clicked. My late wife had been a city planner. She kept records. Old files. Things most people would throw away. I went through them slowly. And then I found it. Carolyn's house. Built on filled wetlands. Unpermitted extensions. Safety inspection skipped. Her home, the crown jewel she bragged about, was never legal. I didn't confront her. I didn't warn her. I sent the files anonymously to the city. And then I waited. City inspectors arrived at the neighborhood quietly. Hard hats, clipboards, cameras. This time, they weren't at my house. They were at hers. Carolyn tried to argue. She tried to intimidate. She tried to explain. The inspector didn't raise his voice. He just said, "You built illegally. This structure is unsafe. You must vacate immediately." The audit didn't stop there. Forgery, abuse of authority, HOA funds misused. Neighbors started speaking up. Stories poured out. Then the police arrived. They walked Carolyn away in handcuffs, right in front of the same people she had bullied for years. Her face wasn't angry anymore. It was empty. The HOA collapsed under lawsuits. Carolyn was convicted. Her assets were seized. She was banned from ever serving on an HOA board again. My house was restored. Not just repaired, upgraded, fully inspected, fully protected. I stood by the lake one evening, watching my kids play in the yard again, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. She tried to erase my home from a map, so the city erased hers, because power without accountability always ends the same way.